Yeah, so hostels, I mean, I think you asked me why sort of I like
Yeah,
staying
that's
in
it. Why hostels over hotels? Why hostels over bed and breakfasts? Why hostels over companies like Booking.com, HomeAway, and Airbnb?
Well, so I think with hostels, we mentioned before how much I enjoy that social interaction, sort of meeting other people, and I think hostels are specifically designed really for that one, that particular reason, where you do have an opportunity to meet other travelers, share your experiences with them, sort of join them on their adventures, and also have locals which tend to work at these hostels, or at least people that have sort of been in a destination for a significant period of time, to give you sort of very tailored information when it comes to that destination and things you can do around it. I find that hotels can be a little bit impersonal quite frequently. So unless you're staying with somewhere which has a lot of character, and those places do tend to be obviously a bit more expensive, you may find that they're almost a bit too sterile. So if I'm not staying in a hostel, I love an idea of a guest house, for example, or an Airbnb. I'm absolutely not against those. And I would say that when I was in Japan, I actually stayed in a couple of places like that were quite enjoyable, and obviously gave me a really sort of good understanding of culture and tradition in that country. So I also do enjoy, obviously, staying somewhere like that when I'm traveling. Airbnb is another one where, again, I used an Airbnb in Tokyo, and that was a fantastic experience. I think with some Airbnbs where you're only renting a room, for example, from a host, there's almost that sort of pressure to have that sort of interaction with that person, which there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it's almost like a manufactured interaction, if that makes sense. So if you're staying somewhere like a hostel or a guest house where there are other people around, you can choose if you want to talk to them. So no one is forcing you to.
So it's a bit more natural. It's a bit
Yeah,
more
it's a
of a
little
natural interaction. It's more organic.
Yeah, it's more organic, and you have an opportunity if you don't find that you click with that person, or if after a short conversation you find that, hey, you know what, our views are very different, or we're just not bonding on a level that I thought we would when I first started a conversation, you can just walk away and you can go and do something else. In somewhere like an Airbnb, if you are, you almost kind of have to have that manufactured interaction. And then if you're not on the same level, or if you are not quite happy with that interaction or with that host for whatever reason, it's a little bit more, not difficult, but it's almost a little bit more awkward, because you are staying in their house, and if you come in there and they say something which you disagree with, it does potentially make it into an awkward situation. So if you walk into somebody's place and they're like, I love Donald Trump, for example, and that
can put a downer on anyone's holiday.
Okay, that's not a way to start a holiday, is it?
Yeah, it's like, oh, welcome, and you go to your room, there's just posters of Donald Trump everywhere, and MAGA hats and magazines.
Yeah. And the hat is like on your bed, and you like, there's a note saying, please wear this to dinner.
And like he has like a white shirt and these trousers that Trump wears, and you have to, that sounds horrible. Oh God. Oh dear. That does sound terrible. Yeah, so I mean, Airbnb is more than that, though. You can rent the entire apartment and just get some tips from your hosts. Like, for example, when I was in Bologna, the host, we rented the entire apartment. The host wasn't there, but when he greeted us, he did have a guide to his favorite places in his town, basically a local guide, which saying like, these are the places I love. This place is just a food court but the food here is unparalleled. It's absolutely fantastic food, brilliant, magnificent food. Go here, go to this place, go to this place, and go to this place. You can get a lot of good advice from locals as well. I mean, they are locals as well, so
absolutely. And I think I was kind of projecting sort of how my mind works when I'm sort of booking somewhere to stay, and I tend to I've definitely started using Airbnbs more in recent years. It's just do you remember when couch surfing was a big thing? And I still think it is to an extent,
yeah,
where
it's kind of got a cult following.
Yeah, you would essentially sort of either you would post something to say, hey, I'm arriving in this city, I'm arriving to Rome or Osaka, I need somewhere to stay. And you would basically stay with random people who have a couch available, have a spare room available, and then in exchange, you actually just sort of have that interaction with them, and just you may join them for dinner, they might take you out, and I think those interactions for a lot of people are part and parcel of traveling, and they really enjoy that. But weirdly for me, even though I enjoy that social interaction in hostels and so on, that to me would almost be, it's a little bit of it could be hit and miss. You could meet somebody who you click with immediately, or it could be somebody that you just who isn't quite your your person, your cup of tea. And I think that's what kind of put me off in the past from using that particular service. And I totally understand that that's an issue that I have, and I'm not saying that I'm not kind of trying to dissuade people from using services like that, but for me that was the reason. And I think the same was when Airbnb first started sort of coming to prominence. There were a lot of those kind of spare room adverts in there, whereas because it's now such a well-oiled machine as a business, it has become a lot more attractive to me, and definitely has become sort of part of the rotation when it comes to considering places to stay when I travel.
Okay. I mean, and that is another way for travelers to meet other people. I mean, in a hotel, maybe you don't have that much opportunity unless you join a special event by the hotel or meet someone at breakfast.
Like walk into somebody's conference, why not?
Yeah. And but like in a hostel, you get to meet people who are like-minded, maybe in your room, and just people walking around, they just all up for a laugh. All of them want to have a conversation. All of them are eager to chat. And then there's Airbnb, where there's a host that might be eager to talk to you or take you places as well. And you can do Airbnb experiences where you do things with other people. That is another thing that people can do, is like if they have goals to participate in something which is very cultural. And that leads me on to another question, actually. Like, do you have goals when you travel? You did mention like the checkbox kind of exercise, tick things off. Do you think like that when you travel? Do you have goals when you travel?
So yes, I mean, we talked about sort of booking that trip and sort of booking the flights and figuring out what we want to do. And I think that's why I do find it quite important to research the trip myself. So I don't tend to start with any particular goals. It's kind of like, well, what destination appeals to me? Why do I want to go here rather than here, for example? So it starts off very simple. So it might be, I feel like doing some hiking, or I want to sort of immerse myself in a culture. So, for example, last year I went to Nepal, and it literally started with, I just want to do like a long trek, like a long hike. There wasn't really much more behind it. And it's not like that's the only place you can do it around the world, but that is something that appealed to me. And then you progress by sort of, booking your flights, and maybe book your first couple of nights of accommodation. I'm a very strong believer in having like the first couple of nights booked somewhere, be it a hotel or a hostel, and then you kind of see what happens. And then you start figuring out, well, okay, so I've got the security of a flight, security of a hotel. What do I want to get out of this trip? Is it literally just, the initial thing that I wanted to do, which might be a hike or a trek? What else do I want to get out of this? Do I want to get to know local people? Do I want to learn how to maybe cook some Nepalese food? What is it that do I want to learn a bit of the language? Do I want to try and volunteer somewhere? So it really depends on the destination. It depends on how much time I have. If you only have a weekend away, it's unlikely that you're going to really get, under the skin of that place. Especially if you haven't been there before. For example, I went to Berlin in last September, and Berlin's got so many different layers. It's got, it's got so many incredible sites, but at the same time, it's got, the whole counterculture stuff going on, and all the history that it's had, that it's been through over the, in the 20th century. So you'll need a long time in a destination to kind of see
process
everything.
That.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you only have a weekend, it might just be that you want to see some of those sort of main sites, not because everyone else is seeing them, but because they are that important to the place, and not giving yourself an opportunity to kind of experience them is almost disrespectful to the place, if that makes sense. So, for example, I guess like if you go to Paris and you don't see the Eiffel Tower, it's not, yes, it's an incredible sight, but if you don't see it, or if you don't go up the Eiffel Tower, it's not the end of the world. But I think if you go somewhere like Berlin and you don't learn about the Cold War, about about the wall, the Berlin Wall, and about the struggles that the people have gone through, that you kind of doing yourself and the place a disservice. So there's goals like that, absolutely, where it's like, yes, I'm going to see the things that everyone else is seeing in this place, but they're important to sort of heighten my understanding of the place's history or its significance. Or there might be something a lot more less serious, where it's like, right, my goal is to get a tan, so which never happens, unfortunately, with me.
No, you just turn red. Your skin just falls off, and you can just see your bare muscles just underneath. Your skin just melts.
Yeah. Well, that's depressing. So it really does depend. But yeah, I think I would say that by the time I get on that plane, I do have sort of a list of things that I want to achieve, and they're not necessarily like places I want to go to. There are sort of things that I want to experience, or maybe even feel at the end of the trip.
Okay. So like basically think of a reason. I guess what it boils down to is think of a reason why you're going to this place before you go. I mean, while you're booking the flights, think of what you want to achieve, or not what you want to achieve, but what your goals are beforehand. And every goal is personal and individual for that person.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So last few questions. We're running out of time. Romantic cities, modern cities, beach holidays, natural marvels, historical wonders, or countryside getaways. What am I talking about? That's not the question. Which is your favorite?
I've seen, you did send that question through to me, but I think you're putting me on the spot in a way, because I think we'll get to, like, if I had to absolutely pick one, I could probably pick one, but I think travel is about experiencing as many of those things as possible, because I think if you just go and visit modern cities, then you're really missing out on sort of the essence, the history, the culture of a particular place. And if you just go and spend time on the beach, then you obviously, again, you're kind of limited as to what you can experience. So I think that's why I think sort of longer trips, so which, you know, a lot of people would call traveling rather than holidays, I suppose, appeal to me more, because you can spend time visiting a lot of these places. So, you know, somewhere like Japan would have all of those things that you could visit relatively easily as well, because of the size of the country and how good the infrastructure is. I mean, for me, I think natural marvels would sort of come out on top. I do love being outside, being outdoors, hiking in the mountains in the countryside. But at the same time, after doing that, I do enjoy being in a modern city and enjoying the perks of being somewhere like Tokyo or somewhere like Bangkok in Thailand or London. Because I think, yeah, there's a balance to be had. I think if my trip was just, you know, hiking and then getting on a plane and going home, I think I would feel like I haven't achieved one of those goals, if that makes sense. I haven't seen an aspect of a country or part of a country which is still important. It might not be what a lot of people travel for, just to visit, you know, huge cities, but I think it's definitely a place to kind of enjoy that. Like Bangkok is one of my favorite cities in the world. Okay. And a lot of people are sort of like, well, why there's so much more to Thailand? And I absolutely agree. But there's just something about it, the energy, the atmosphere, how lively it is, that kind of appeals to me and sort of brings me back.
I mean, that was going to be one of my questions as well. Where is one of your favorite places to go to visit in the world? Where are some of your favorite places to visit in the world? Bangkok, yeah. So you like Bangkok? It's, what kind of city is it? It's not. Is it a modern city?
It's a little bit. I didn't want to use that word, but it you know, fusion really comes to mind. You've got that sort of mix of historical and modern, and it clashes pretty much, you know, everywhere you look. So you've got this incredible history with these beautiful Buddhist temples and palaces, gold gilded buildings, and, you know, you walk a couple of blocks and you'll have these like modern buildings, skyscrapers, bars, and so on. And sometimes they're just sort of, you know, these little temples are like nestled in between these sort of huge buildings. So I think it's that mix of old and new and east and west, which I think really appeals to me, which is why I do enjoy visiting a lot of Asian cities. And, you know, you yourself will know that Tokyo is like that in many ways. And
well, for me, Tokyo is it's a completely different beast. It's a completely different animal. It's very different from other Asian cities. It's more similar to, I think, Tokyo, but to Korea, to Seoul.
Tokyo is very similar to Tokyo.
Tokyo is it's ridiculously similar to Tokyo. I can't believe how similar they are. Tokyo and Tokyo, they're like the same city. They're almost the same city. In fact, I'm pretty sure they are the same city. But
that's a bold claim.
That is a bold claim, isn't it? Tokyo, I think, is very similar to Seoul. But it's not as well. Like, I assumed Seoul would be like just a carbon copy of Tokyo, but it's not. It's much more, I think Seoul is more like a Southeast Asian city mixed with Tokyo. So it's got both sides, where you've got a lot of drinking on the street and eating on the street, like in a Southeast Asian country. But you've also got like these modern buildings and this modern kind of lifestyle, all of it, just this hot pot of different eras just mixing together and different stages of development, which is quite interesting. So it's like Singapore meets, I don't know, man, Singapore meets kuching from like Borneo or something. It's fantastic. It's really, really nice. But Tokyo is completely different in that it's not similar to a European city. It's not similar to an Asian city. Japan in general isn't. It's quite strange.
Japan in general, I find it's such a fascinating country. I've never been anywhere like you can't compare Japan to anywhere else in the world. Like I feel with most countries that I've been to, even if they are sort of very sort of distinct, like Thailand, there's still that element was like, okay, I've been to a lot of countries in Asia, and you can sort of compare elements that you find in places like Thailand to other parts of Asia, but it's almost like Japan is just it's just a completely different
They
land.
just threw away the rule book. They tore up the rule book and then just said, you know what?
There's no offsides. Japan doesn't do offsides. Doesn't do VAR.
They don't do offsides. AR. They VAR. AR. Augmented reality. No VAR. Yeah, they don't do any of that. I guess what I've learned from speaking with you, what I have learned.
Here we go. Time to distill that entire conversation to one thing. Here we go.
Well, mate, I've forgotten everything you've said. No, I guess what I have learned is that everyone has their own reasons for traveling, and you should have a plan before you go, but you shouldn't plan too much. You should allow for spontaneity, for something spontaneous or sudden to happen to you. You should have an open mind when traveling and meet new people, or not meet new people. Just do whatever you want, but just be comfortable and try and learn something, try and experience something and learn something different about yourself, about where you are. Like maybe you'd learn something about the culture, but you learn something about yourself that you didn't know before. Like, oh, I didn't know that I liked this food. I didn't know that I enjoyed being in a place like this. I didn't know that I could do that. It's just trying to push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Step by step, I think is a lot of what I've learned from you. And there was something else that I had learned, but I thought about it like 20 minutes ago, and now it's gone. It's gone. I'm drawing a blank now. I don't think
you could have said it any better. I couldn't have said it any better myself. I mean, you probably could have said it better. I mean, I don't know if that was the best you could have.
I could have done better. I could have said it much better.
No, honestly, don't think I could have said it any better myself. It's travel is a very individual experience, and I think moving away from like travel agents, like we talked about earlier, I think does give you an opportunity to strike out by yourself and have that experience, which is going to be unlike the experience of anyone else around you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, just experience something new and open up your world, basically. Open up your world and open up your mind and just see how other people live. And that does, like you say, put things into perspective in your own life. Like you can compare your life to other people's, and you can feel grateful for what you have. And you can also meet people and think, wow, well, I really want to be like this. You can be influenced by other people.
Yeah, a tour of my property, of my house.
Yeah, go on, man. Let's have a little tour. We're going to have a little bit of a bonus feature.
This room. See, I only had that studio available for a certain amount of time. I'm not a big time blogger, so I'm being kicked out of the studio.
He's been kicked out of the studio. He's going for a walk. He's in the kitchen. He's in the what? Living room? What room was that?
That was the laundry room.
That was a laundry room. Well, mate, all we're seeing is the bloody ceiling. What kind of tour is this?
What kind of a laptop is this?
What kind of tour is this? Oh yeah, here guys, look at my cafe. Yeah, that's the ceiling. And over there
I think it's beautiful. I think it's very traditional. I think
toilet ceiling. The ceilings.
Slats are definitely. Yeah, I like that color as well. That's
yeah, well, it's green. Yeah, it's my favorite. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm sorry, we have gone a little bit over time. We've gone way over time for Sham Talk, but this is going to be broken up into 2 parts for you lucky listeners. Oh, hey, or viewers. We haven't had one with a video before, Lex. So you are our first. Thank you very much. Next, all right. Do you have? No, actually, let's not do that one. Where is your next vacation going to be?
So, interestingly enough, at the moment, there's still a lot of uncertainty, obviously, about foreign travel and where sort of people can go and can't go. And there's, do you have to quarantine when you come back? So, as we said, the governments are sort of making it up as they go along. So it's very difficult to kind of keep on top of it. So we decided to kind of see more of this country, of Great Britain. And
yeah, okay, all right, go on. Yeah, that's fantastic, amazing, well done.
And so we decided we're actually going to Wales in a couple of weeks' time.
To Wales, the land of the dragon. Is that what they call it? Is that what they call it? I don't know if anyone calls it that, but it has a dragon on their flag, a red dragon.
Daffodils are Welsh, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah,
dragons and daffodils. That should be their tourism logo. Wales, dragons and daffodils.
Dragons and daffodils. Where are you going in Wales?
So we're going to drive up to around Snowdonia National Park, and I think we're actually going to climb Snowdon, which is the highest mountain in Wales, I believe.
Okay, Mount Snowdon, nice.
I think a lot of Britain doesn't have a lot of high mountains, so I think like that's not. I think the highest mountain in the UK is probably like lower than most cities in like South America or something like that. So
pretty much. I think the highest is maybe 1,000 something meters.
Something like that. And there are cities that are like at 4,000 meters. So it's like, it's not even. But hey, who are we to complain?
No, I'm not complaining. Highest mountains in the UK. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's 1,345 meters, and it's named Ben Nevis.
It used to be called Ben, but then there was another mountain that was also called Ben, so they needed to differentiate between them.
Well, dude, I don't know if you know this. There's 1, 2 in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The top 10. 3 of them are Ben. Ben Nevis. The second tallest mountain, second highest mountain is Ben Macdui. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7th highest mountain is Ben Lawyers. And then there are 2 which are called Beinn, or Beinn, which I guess is Gaelic, maybe? I'm not sure if that is.
Batman?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so you're going to travel around the UK. That's very nice. That should be very, very nice. Last thing I want to ask you. I have a visitor. Oh, that's Hitomi. Don't worry about Hitomi. It's Hitomi and Leo. Leo's here to join us on the podcast. So the last question I wanted to ask you is probably going to be last 2 questions. Is Hitomi, can I have a look at the man you're holding? Alexi, this is Leo. This is my son. Leo, say hello.
Hi, Leo.
You're rude.
Yeah.
Why aren't you saying anything? Do you know what? Get out of here. I'm going to put you down here. All right. So, shut up, you. the last questions I wanted to ask you is, what are some good phrases that Japanese people should know when they are traveling? What do you think are some good phrases to know, like in survival English, going to shops, going to restaurants, those kind of things?
I think with it's obviously important to know greetings, basic things like hello, good afternoon, and so on. I actually think that one of the most important things you need to learn is things to do with your personal circumstances. So if you are allergic to anything, I think it's really important to know relevant words for any allergies you may have, or things that you're unable to eat, for example, or any conditions you may have, because that will make having those kind of discussions with people a lot easier, especially if you are in a restaurant and you're trying to say, hey, I'm vegetarian or I'm vegan. So any sort of food preferences are going to be very important. And
I'll stop you there real quick. So I'm vegetarian. Excuse me, I'm vegetarian. Or I'm vegan. That won't really apply to Japanese people. Japanese people aren't vegetarian or vegan. Usually, I don't want to offend you if you are vegan. Good on you. Enjoy life. You do you. Yeah, I'm allergic to. So allergies. Yeah, I am allergic to. So are you allergic to anything?
I'm not that I'm aware of. So or at least I haven't found out that I'm allergic to anything yet. So no, I'm not. But yeah, so you could be. What could you be allergic to? Things like nuts?
I'm allergic to soramame. Soramame in English is broad beans.
Right.
Allegedly, I ate a bag of deep fried broad beans when I was in Malaysia and Indonesia. Nothing happened, so I'm starting to question whether I am allergic to broad beans. My mum says I'm allergic to alcohol. I can unequivocally state, and I know my mum will listen to this, I'm not allergic to alcohol, Mum. You're a liar. Or the doctor was lying. Someone was lying or mistaken.
I miss you, Mum.
Yeah, Alexi, Travelex, Lex used to live with myself, with my mum and myself. And yeah, good times. Terrible food, but good times. Yeah, so some other good English phrases. So I'm allergic to something. What about requesting something in a restaurant? How would you do that?
So if I was in a restaurant, I would say I would like, or I want. I know different languages sort of use different phrases. In some languages, saying I want is completely fine. I think in English, you would probably try and be a little bit more, I would like something. Yeah. So I would like, or do you have? So you can always sort of ask a question. So do you have this particular food, especially if you are after something in particular, especially if you want to try something traditional in England, some of that traditional English food that is renowned around the world.
Oh man, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's just amazing. It's as if like other food doesn't exist, really. No, it doesn't. No. It's just British food, and everything else is.
I mean, Italian, French. I mean, why?
French? What? Who? What? Yeah, Italian and French food. What is Italian food? Jeez. Yeah, I think the most versatile phrase for any traveler like who would like to use English abroad is "Could I have?" Could I have a beer? Could I have the chicken, please? Could I have the coq au vin? Could I have? And could I have the bill? Could I have your phone number? It's really, if you want to try and meet a girl or a boy, could I have your phone number? A bit too direct.
Could I have a key for this jail cell?
Could I have the key to what?
to this jail cell so I can.
Yeah, there you go. Could I have the keys to break out of this prison? Yeah, exactly. Could I have your login details so that I can transfer all of your money to my account? Yeah, exactly. Could I have is very versatile.
Absolutely universal phrases.
Yeah, you can use it in so many situations. All right, Travel Lexx. The time has come for the last. I know I keep saying it's the last part. This is the last part. Is there anything you want to plug or anything you want to promote to our listeners/viewers?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really good talking to you. We haven't talked in a while, actually, so that was definitely good fun.
Absolute pleasure.
You can find me on travelex.com. So that's TRAVELEXX.
This is it here, isn't it?
That is indeed there, and that is indeed me. Walking somewhere, hopefully not off a mountain.
Well, mate, I mean, that looks absolutely gorgeous. Where is that?
This is Yosemite National Park in California, in USA.
That's fantastic. Lovely. That's gorgeous.
And weirdly enough, the photo is actually not staged. It looks like I'm posing for it, but I was legitimately just walking away from the edge, I may add. So I wasn't, I wasn't thinking of jumping or anything like that.
Yeah, it was not the edge.
A friend of mine took a fantastic photo, which I've decided to use on the website. But yeah, you can find me on travelex.com or all social media. So I'm at TravelX on Twitter, TravelX_UK on Instagram. I'm also on Pinterest and Facebook.
And YouTube. You've got a YouTube channel.
I have a YouTube channel, which I really wouldn't want people to visit right now. There's not really much happening on there, but you never know. In the future, there might be more videos. So yeah, absolutely go on, subscribe, and then you'll be the first to know when something cool comes out.
And there you go. I mean, you talk about destinations, hiking, and most importantly, yourself.
What more do you need to cover when introducing yourself to people?
You do have a lot of good advice there. And there you are with your short hair. That's very nice, short hair. Hi, I'm Lex. And you do have a lot of good advice, and that is really, really good stuff. And it's good, I think, for our listeners. Just go onto the website, travelex.com. The address will be in the transcript, which will be included on the website. Just have a look at the website, read a few articles, and it will be fantastic English practice. Because your major, what was your major in university?
It was actually in journalism. So I did journalism at uni. So writing was always something that I've enjoyed doing. So
journalism.
Yeah, journalism. So
there you go.
Channel. Yeah. So this blog is essentially something that has allowed me to sort of keep up with the writing and sort of continue practicing, even though I haven't actually ever had a formal journalist job.
Yeah, well, I mean, I studied law and I studied foundation science, and I'm currently a science lawyer. I'm an English teacher, so
never too late. Never too late.
Well, mate, who? This is an amazing logo you've got here, mate.
It is an incredible logo. I absolutely love it. It was designed by. It was designed by this Tokyo-based English teacher, who is
science lawyer.
He's an incredible graphic designer as well in his spare time. And all listeners to this podcast should contact him for their logos.
There you go. I mean, I do all the logos myself on the Green Square website. There you go. There's some stuff, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, there you go. Did all this myself. Top-notch stuff, I reckon.
I'll be approaching you for more work in the near future.
Hopefully. Well, Leo is making A lot of noise. What's he making noise for? Who's he making noise? I think he wants to go traveling. He wants to travel Lexx. And your old logo, not old logo, your old slogan. What was the slogan?
Explore, dream, discover.
Was there another one before that? Was there the one like the road Lexx traveled or the road less traveled?
The road Lexx traveled is it's like an account that I decided to like snap up in case I choose to ever change my blog name, because that's the only thing that seems not obvious, but it's one name that I could consider renaming my blog to.
Excellent.
In the future potentially, but yeah, there's no plans to do that at the moment, so it's just something I wanted to kind of make sure is owned by me.
Excellent. All right, well, the road Lexx traveled, or the road less traveled. The original phrase, for anyone who doesn't know, is the road less traveled, which means what, Alexei?
Means going off the beaten path.
Which means what, Alexei?
Visiting less popular sites and destinations.
Yes.
Without the crowds.
Yeah, so the idea is a beaten path is a path which is beaten. Many people have walked along this path, but try and go somewhere where no one else has walked before. And the road less traveled is the road where fewer people have traveled. Very good, very nice. Thank you very much, Alexei. And I think we will have you back very soon, I hope.
Anytime.
Because you are also a coach of some sort.
I'm many things, Sham.
What did you use to coach, Alexei? What do you use to coach?
No, not at the moment, sadly, but I am thinking about making a comeback potentially. I'm a tennis coach.
He's a tennis coach? A journalist, a blogger, an award-winning blogger, and an award-nominated blogger.
Let's not forget that one.
Exactly. And an all-round good guy. Oh, and he's a government employee.
Yeah.
You're like Action Man or something. You're like Acton Man.
It's like, I just, whenever I hear lights, camera, acting, I'm on it.
There you go, lights, camera, acting. Thank you very much for joining us, Lexx from Travel Lexx.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Get out of here, you crazy kid.